Okay, so my lifelong entrepreneurial journey has led me into the beauty industry, where people often ask me what it's like to be a man in a woman's world. It's been so cool. I can tell you that it's been fun and exciting and exhilarating and stimulating, and I've learned so much. I always thought that a Brazilian was a person who comes from Brazil. And that Hollywood was a place they made movies. Now I know they're just bikini waxers. And we offer some really interesting services as far as waxing is concerned. We offer a 3/4 leg wax. And it boggles the mind which quarter they leave out. I have nightmares of people leaving our salons with hairy ankles. But I always tell the staff they must focus on wax because there's a lot of growth in that area. There's no problem. Anyway, so back to the beginning. Through no fault of my own, I was born in Vanderbijl Park. And people say, why were you born in Vanderbijl Park? I don't know. I suppose I wanted to be close to my mother. I mean, she was there, so I thought, well, that's a cool place to be born. And then my father, Kenny Fuhr, he was one of the founding directors of Russell Furnishers, and in fact the guy that started Joshua Door in South Africa. So I had a father in the furniture business. Joshua Door. And he took me off to school in Johannesburg, and I went to a Jewish school. And the problem with going to a Jewish school is that there are only Jews there. And you don't get to meet anyone else, of a different race and culture and religion and language. And you grow up believing that we, the Jews, were the chosen people of God. Which is also cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to be chosen by God? So you grow up because you're young and naive and a bit stupid, you believe that stuff, And then when I left school, I looked like that. And at that point in time, I wasn't too sure if God was happy with his choice. Well, and then a couple of weeks later, I looked like that. I went into the Air Force for my compulsory service. And there I met another group of people for the first time, white Afrikaans-speaking males, okay? And I thought that I was chosen by God and pretty special. I can tell you for sure they didn't think so. They didn't agree at all. In fact, one of the corporals told me that as far as he was concerned, the Jews were lower than shark. And I've been waiting, 45 years later, I'm still pondering if there's anything in the world lower than shark. And I don't think there is. So I went from hero to zero. One day I'm chosen by God, next day I'm shark. And that's a hell of a dilemma for a young 17-year-old boy. And you've got to start asking some tough questions, like who's doing the choosing here? And why is he so confused? And you learn a very powerful lesson, the first and most powerful lesson I ever learned in my life. That, in fact, there's no one group superior or inferior to another. We're all just different, and the sooner we learn to respect and tolerate our differences, the better off our country would be. And that is something that still sits in my heart now today. So then I very successfully went and dropped out of university after 2.5 years of a 3-year course, boom, 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 boom. And then became a singer, which was cool also. It was fun. And then I went to work for Gallo Record Company in the music business for a while. And then one day, my older brother comes back from America and he says, I've just seen this business called Kmart in the States, huge, big departmental stores that discount, and we have to open up that in Johannesburg. Okay, and I said, that's great. Which one of us is we? He said, you got to open it up. I said, well, I'm 22 years old at the time. I knew nothing about retailing or discounting or department stores or the black market or anything at all. So I said, sure. Let's do this. So we planned to open Kmart in South Africa. Some of you might remember that if you're old enough. And there was a small problem, a slight sort of judgment error. We just used the American name. Seemed like a good idea. Look, I mean, it had worked pretty well for them. So, I mean, why shouldn't we use it? I didn't know much about registrations and trademarks and all that stuff. And to make matters worse, we used the logo too. and that would come back to haunt us about 12 years later. So we planned to open up in the middle of June 1976, believe it or not, but something else was going on at that time. And of course, we delayed the opening until the 1st of July. And there I am with my two brothers. And they told me that I must advertise some really low prices. So I cut the shit out of everything. And half the country turned up. I mean, they thought there was a riot. The police came with their dogs and the hippos, remember those things? And it took us a long time to convince them that this was a store opening and not a riot. And eventually it settled down, and we had the queues there for 3 days. And there I was with all these black people. Spot the white boy. Spot the white. And that was a hell of a challenge, which I could talk about for hours. But nevertheless, we moved on. And in fact, 1 year later, I think we were the first company in South Africa to have black directors and shareholders. And that picture was on the front page. In fact, that picture was on the front page of the World newspaper, which was banned just after the tragic death of Steve Biko. And things moved on from there. And then I went into the music business. I'm not sure if you're aware that I was involved with a guy called Caiphus Semenya. The black people will know. The whites won't have a clue. He was my partner, and we released Letombulu and Caiphus's albums and Hugh Masekela. And we had the Soul Brothers, and we really had a cool time. And, I just don't have time to go into all of that, but I can just tell you one little story about old Stanley and Corsi. And if John Matham is around, he might remember the story. Anyway, so Stanley was older than me, obviously, and we used to travel around trying to promote the music out there, and we went to a place called Middelburg in the old Eastern Transvaal, in Mpumalanga now, looking for a place to have lunch. Couldn't find a place to have lunch because they wouldn't take black people into the restaurants. One after another, we were kicked out. It was so humiliating. Eventually, we decided to eat in a roadhouse, which was fine. No one was going to kick us out of our own car. So we sat in the car, and the waiter comes up, and we ordered 2 hamburgers and 2 Cokes, please. All good. He comes back, 2 hamburgers, 2 Cokes. The thing is that one of the hamburgers is on a plate, and the other one on a paper plate. And one of the cold drinks is in a glass, and the other one's in a half-torn sort of polystyrene cup. And again, I was so humiliated, and Stanley was older than me, so I gave him the glass and the plate, and I took the other stuff, the paper stuff. Much to the dismay of the owner of this establishment, who was so far right, you had to send out a search party to find him. This was a serious racist, and here he was, complaining that there was a black man eating off his plate. Could you believe it? So we decided enough is enough is enough. So we get out of the car, and we're going to do something. I'm dressed in my jeans and khakis, and that day, Stanley had a jacket and tie. So we decided to reverse roles, and I played the humble, rural African servant, and I went up to this guy, and he's looking at me, and I said, "Nyabonga baba tata." And he looks at me, and Stanley decides to step up to the plate, straightens his jacket, pulls up his tie, points his finger in the man's face and said, "Don't you ever treat my white boy like that again." So we move on to another industry and another time, and I always enjoyed looking at new industries because you can go in there with fresh eyes. And I'm lying on a massage table one day, and a beauty therapist talking away, and she's kneading the muscles in my back, and she says, "Why don't you look at the beauty industry?" So I said, "What? Beauty industry? Look at this face." Beauty industry. I use Lux soap twice a week. I mean, really, beauty industry. She said, "Just go and have a look at it. There's a gap in the market," she said. And I asked, "But is there a market in the gap?" And she said, "Yes, why don't you go and have a look?" And I did, and I discovered that there were no branded chains of beauty salons out there. So I looked into it, and we started to buy up a couple of independent salons. And about 6 months later, we converted them to Sorbets. And in August 2005, we launched the Sorbet brand to get that feeling. And that's what they look like now. We've changed them a little bit over the years. And then, I think in 2010, Clicks arrives, and they say they would like to partner with us. Our friend sitting in front here from Clicks, thank you, Karine, we appreciate that. And they decided that we were going to work on the club card together, and they were going to launch some products, the Sorbet brand, for us. I think some people think that we went to Clicks with the product. In fact, they came to us with the idea of launching the Sorbet brand. And subsequently, we've had a fantastic run and a great relationship with them. We've got bath and body products and skincare and masks and waxing, nails, gift sets, all kinds of wonderful stuff. Even a firming range. They came with a firming range. So I said, "What does that do?" Well, they say, if you rub the stuff on your breasts, it'll perk them up a little bit. Does that work? Okay, you don't need it, right? I know, yeah, it's okay. Well, I tried it and it didn't work for me, I can tell you. No ways. No ways. And nails, I must tell you about nails. There's an obsession that women have about nails. And I don't understand, but it's definitely not about men, I can tell you that. It's not to attract men, because in all the years when I have had sort of a braai and a drink around the fire with a few guys, and a beautiful woman walks past, and the guy says, "Man, did you see that set of nails?" Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. So we talk a little bit about the corporate culture of Sorbet, which we believe is the main competitive advantage out there. And all the people have to come through my induction training that I do every day and every month, and I'm always doing induction training. Everyone has to attend. And the first question that I always ask them is, what is the purpose of life and what is the purpose of work? And most people will say, well, it's to make money, to pay my bills, to survive, to improve my standard of living. But that's all about me. People who only think about themselves, I call them I specialists, specialize in themselves. But that's not the right answer. The answer is to serve. That's why we go into business. We don't go into business to make money. We go into business to serve the needs and wants of people. And if we do that well, we will make lots of money. And you can always tell the difference between an eye specialist and a sorbet girl. The eye specialist is always thinking about herself, and the sorbet girl is about others. So if you take this example, a nail technician has been working all day long. She's tired, she wants to go home. It comes 6 o'clock, the door's already closed, and she's just about to leave and open the door when the guest comes from the other side. And the guest does this. And the nail technician says, "Oh, what do you mean?" But she's not being rude, she's not being aggressive, not doing anything wrong. She's just highlighting the one broken nail that's sitting on the end of this finger. And she's making all signs. This is one nail, please. One nail, please. One. Now the nail tech has got like a dilemma. She's got two choices. The first choice, if she's an eye specialist, she will say, okay, you want to play with signs? I'm also can play with signs. We can do signs. Open your eyes. Look at this sign. It says closed. Can't you see I'm tired? Foot up. Or the sorbet girl can say, okay, my dear, please come, let me help you. That's the difference between an eye specialist and a sorbet girl. So it's always service before reward and people before profit, which is our main philosophy about business. In a typical organization, the management style is always top down. You have your boss, you have your subservient staff, and you have your customer. And in most cases, the boss is the one with the power and controls everyone's lives. He controls the next salary increase and the next promotion, or she, whatever it is. And people are pretty subservient, so they're forever bowing and groveling in front of the boss. And which part of the anatomy is facing the customer? That's a serious problem. Why would you do that? So we have a different style of leadership. We call it servant leadership, where the leaders serve the staff, okay, who serve the customers. Serve the people who are serving the people. And we need to try and create a working environment that is conducive to people motivating themselves. Okay, I get asked a lot, how do you motivate 2,000 women? I don't. I can't. Okay? I can try and inspire them. I can try and do all kinds of things, but I can't motivate them. They have to motivate themselves. Okay? And I think if you want to try and get under someone's skin and say, motivate yourself, it doesn't work. Just inspire people, lead them, and create a working environment in which they feel comfortable, which they have the training and development that they need, the equipment that they need, the salaries that are fair, etc., etc. So if you ask me about success, what does it mean? What is the definition? Well, I'd say to you, when I was young, okay, and I started 40 years ago to be an entrepreneur, it was about money and power and influence and lifestyle and fast cars, fast women, fast everything, okay? But now with the benefit of age and experience, a little bit of wisdom and the gray hair that comes with it, it's about making a difference in people's lives, going out there. And we tell our staff, our therapists, and our nail techs that they are impacting on people's lives every single day. And that's not a job anymore, it's a privilege. It's a real privilege to be able to do that and make people feel good about themselves every day of your life. So just a few stats about Sorbet. 165 stores now across the country. About 2,000 staff, which I think of those 2,000, there are 5 men. So you'll be very happy, my dear, here in front. It's all about the woman. And over 200,000 treatments per month at the moment. 265,000 loyalty members on our database. Our group sales to February 2016, 525 million. Estimated sales, and this year to February 17, 660 million, and we will hit R1 billion by 2019. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we get an average of 10 franchise inquiries per day at the moment. So just a few of the other formats. We have the nail bar. Just going to flash through these. We've got a few of those, about 6 or 7 of them. We've got the dry bar, which is a new express hair styling place where you don't have any cuts or color, just blowouts. And that's what it looks like there. Sorbet Man is a very new and exciting development for us. We have 7 stores of those already around the country, only one in Cape Town, and I'm pleased that John went to visit, wherever he is. Wherever he is. Thanks, John. Nice to hear that. And that's what they look like. Completely different, of course, to the other Sorbet salons. And then we went to England, and we've opened now 2 stores in London and another 2 by the end of the year, so we'll have 4 stores. And we ultimately would like Sorbet to be the first truly international salon brand in the world, which is our long-term goal. Thank you. So the shareholders are a close family. All of those there, except the guy on the right, who's definitely not my son. That's Rudy Rudolph. The rest are all family. I've got 3 children there, 1 boy and 2 girls, and they all have senior roles in the company, and my niece. And so I wrote a book about all of this stuff, and I would like to thank you very much for inviting me. Thanks a lot.